The hour being 7 p.m. on Monday, February 8th, 2021, I'd like to call to order the Laconia City Council meeting. Prior to going any further, though, I'd like to read the introduction for electronic meetings. As mayor of the Laconia City Council, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video and other electronic means. We are utilizing the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members have the ability to communicate during this meeting through the Zoom platform, and the public has access to watch the live YouTube video at www.youtube.com/LaconiaNH. Listen to this meeting through dialing the following phone number, 1-312-626-6799, or participate by the Zoom app, webinar ID 827-4901-8638, password 146454. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Zoom, and instructions are provided on the City of Laconia's website at www.laconianh.gov. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 527-1265, extension 243, or email at cityclerk@laconianh.gov. Adjourning the public meeting, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states his presence, also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I'd ask the clerk, Cheryl Hebert, to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney.
City Hall and alone.
Counselor Susie.
I'm at home and alone.
Counselor Whitman.
I'm at home and alone in the room I'm in. My daughter is upstairs.
Counselor Haynes. You're muted.
Here at City Hall on the second floor and alone.
Counselor Hamel.
Home and alone.
Counselor Felch.
Home and alone.
Mayor Hosmer.
Home and alone as well. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we go any farther, I would ask Councilor Felch if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilor Felch.
You're welcome.
As I indicated earlier, we are joined this evening by City Clerk Cheryl Hebert, who's the recording secretary. We're also joined by City Manager Scott Myers, and I suspect somewhere in the background is Glenn Smith, City Finance Director. Moving along on our agenda, acceptance of minutes from previous meetings. I'd like to accept the regular meeting minutes of January 25th, 2021. The minutes of the meeting were distributed to the City Council on Tuesday, January 26, 2021. With no changes or corrections submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. 24-hour turnaround, Madam Clerk. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 9. This is the citizen comments for matters not on the agenda. If there is a member of the public who has tuned in and would like to speak to something that is not on tonight's agenda, now would be the appropriate time. Sit back and wait for your cue, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Mayor, no one has raised their hand.
Thank you. Moving along to item number 10 on our agenda.
Mayor?
Yes.
Somebody just raised their hand.
All right, we're a little too quick. We'll stay on item number 9 then.
And this is Sherry Minor.
Hello, Ms. Minor. Welcome. Glad you could join us this evening.
Hi, can you hear me? This is my very first time, so
Welcome. Can hear you loud and clear.
perfect. I would just like to have, I don't really know how to address the topic and get it going on the issue with the trash in this, the people being fined. I'm sure you're aware, obviously, that we are fined as property owners, even when our tenants are the ones leaving the barrels out and not doing the proper things with their trash cans. I'd like to come to some sort of solution to try to work a better plan, because that's just, we have a hard time collecting our rent. And right now we can't even evict them when we're not collecting our rent. So this is just a terrible burden right now on top of all the other terrible burdens that we are facing.
Thank you very much, Ms. Minor. Certainly, I think all of us have a great deal of empathy for not only those struggling to pay their rents, but also to those expecting rents to be paid in order to manage their businesses and pay their own mortgages on the buildings. And certainly can empathize with you. It's a tough situation when trying to address either excess trash or garbage that's been left out, or when items that were not picked up for whatever reason are left there for extended period of time. But certainly we want you to know, I think we all believe in the policy the city has right now as far as holding people responsible for the property that they own in regards to trash collection. But I also want to assure you that if you are receiving, you or your tenants are receiving a notice and the possibility or the levying of a fine against you, I would suggest that you reach out and you contact the city manager. And as far as I know, every time someone has reached out and explained the circumstances surrounding what's gone on, no fine has been levied. It certainly isn't an attempt to be unnecessarily punitive to people. It is certainly to hold everyone accountable to a certain level of personal responsibility, but I think accommodations have been made and will continue to be made during this period of COVID, when it's a struggle to, it's a struggle when you're a property owner. Certainly could be a very tremendous struggle if you're a renter as well. So I realize, I hear what you're saying, that it seems to be particularly unfair right now, but I would encourage you, again, to reach out and speak with the city manager, and I think that he could address that accordingly for you. Okay?
Okay. All right. I'm not sure that's the solution that I'm looking for, but okay. I will pass that on to.
No, I'm happy if you want to, I'm happy to continue to discuss it either now or perhaps follow up after the meeting. I'm happy to have a conversation with you and maybe do my best to address it. Okay?
Yeah, I think definitely a follow-up, a better plan of action or some sort would be the best. I have had, I'm speaking for a group. So
Sure.
I myself haven't really had an issue, one time a warning, but I'm speaking for a group of people that have asked me to reach out. And I don't think that any of them are going to be happy with that answer.
Okay.
So I think definitely going forward, I don't know who I email or who we speak to, or how we further the conversation, I guess, would be what I would like to know.
I'm happy to participate in a conversation with you, your group, and the city manager anytime you like,
Okay.
and try and get you the answers that you're looking for, and still trying to be,
Yeah.
faithful to what city ordinances are in place. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks for speaking with us. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr.
Any
Mayor,
other hands up, Mr. Smith?
no other hands up, Mr. Mayor,
You sure?
as of right now.
Thanks very much. Moving along to interviews right now. First interview is Harrison Haas, seeking appointment as a regular or alternate member of the Conservation Commission to a term expiring at the end of August 2024. There are 2 vacant alternate positions on the commission and 1 regular member position up for reappointment. This interview, like all the interviews going forward this evening, anybody applying for appointment or reappointment to various boards and commissions will be held at this meeting. Appointments will be made at the council's February 22nd, 2021 meeting. And as we all know, if you have your packet, Mr. Haas's application is attached. So if you are present, Mr. Haas, I'd love to say hello to you.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Thanks for not only joining us tonight, but your interest in serving on the Conservation Committee. Can you perhaps just briefly tell us why you would like to serve on the Conservation Committee?
I think my interest in the environment and a passion for the environment kind of stands right there. I feel like I would like to contribute to my community. I want to be able to attend more of these meetings. And I mean, when I was working for the newspaper, I got to write about these. I got to learn about them, and then after I left the newspaper, I kind of got more involved in volunteering with the Wildlife Foundation. I do a lot of work with the fire department and just some of my own independent stuff where I am just really passionate about being part of a community and the environment and making things better.
Terrific, Mr. Haas. I appreciate your interest in serving, and I also applaud. You refer to yourself. You're classified as a millennial. It's nice to see. I take that as it means you're younger than the rest of us here.
Perhaps.
I appreciate your willingness and to step up and get involved. I'll look to the council to see if there are any further questions for you. Seeing none, again, thank you very much for your willingness to serve and for joining us here this evening.
Of course. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Second up, under 10B, is Marnie Blaisdell Schultz, seeking reappointment as a regular member of the Conservation Commission to a term expiring at the end of August 2023. Marnie Blaisdell Schultz is currently a regular member of the Conservation Committee. Her term expired at the end of August 2020, and she is requesting reappointment. In addition to Ms. Schultz's term, which has expired, there are 2 vacant alternate positions. And if you're with us, Ms. Schultz, please, you can be unmuted and say hello.
Hello.
Hello, welcome. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your willingness to not only join us, but to continue to serve. I'm just wondering if you'd like to perhaps let us know why you are interested in continuing your service.
Well, I've enjoyed the 15 years that I have been on the commission. I think that we do a great service to the city, and the population here. And I also feel that I should be giving back.
Thank you very much, and certainly appreciate your previous service on the Conservation Commission. I'll look to my fellow counselors here. Is there any questions for Ms. Schultz? Seeing none, again, thank you. And certainly we'll be following up on the meeting of the 22nd of this month.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Cheerio.
On number 10C is James Ollie Anderson, seeking reappointment as a regular member of the Library Board of Trustees to a term expiring at the end of March 2024. Mr. Anderson is currently a regular member of the Library Board of Trustees. His term expires at the end of March 2021, and he is requesting reappointment. In addition to Mr. Anderson's term, which is expiring, there are 2 vacant alternate positions on the board, 1 alternate member position up for reappointment, 1 vacant regular member position resulting from a current member not wishing to apply for reappointment. Mr. Anderson, are you with us this evening?
I am here.
Terrific. Would you like to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everybody. Hello, Henry. Hello, Bob. Hello, Bruce.
Hi, Oli.
How you doing?
Doing well.
That's good.
Why would you like to continue on the Board of Trustees, Mr. Anderson?
Not to be redundant with my prior 2 people seeking appointment to the commission, but I believe it's every citizen's responsibility to give back to the community. And I've done it in a number of ways over the years. I've served on the school board, as you saw in my application. I've served as a trustee of trust funds. I've been involved with the hospital in the 90s, 80s. And I've been on the library board for now a number of years. And it's our duty as citizens to do this. And you guys do it very well. You guys do it more intensively than obviously I'm doing. But the library is a wonderful facility we have in this community. We got to get more people to actually read and learn. And we got a gem of a building, we got a gem of a collection, we got a gem of a staff. And it's a wonderful asset for this community. And I like being a part of it.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'd look to the other members of the council to see if anyone has any questions for Mr. Anderson.
Just want to say thank you, Ollie.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been my pleasure to serve. It's an honor. Thank you.
Say ditto, and we're lucky to have someone of your capabilities, Oli.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry.
Oli, I've known you for a few years ago when I was.
Yeah, a few years. I'm not a millennial anymore. I'm a.
When I was on the Laconia Board of Libraries, I just have one question, okay?
Yes, sir.
And maybe it's not really addressed to you, but to the board. And I asked myself this question: how about a bookmobile?
I think the answer, I'll bring it up at the board. We had one at one time, and the key is we're such a mobile society right now that most people can get to our library. But we do offer the service for shut-ins. If they want a book, we'll deliver. So we don't necessarily have the investment in a bookmobile, but we do have the ability to get books to people, even if they're shut in. And we
Okay.
do. So
I don't know if that's well known. That was my only question, because I can remember as a kid, the bookmobiles were one of the greatest places we all wanted to go to. So
yeah.
fine.
With COVID, we're having a hard time getting people into the library because we can't offer programs and stuff like that. So as soon as this gets under control, we can do a lot more. But we will deliver. So in effect, we're doing some of the books to people. But I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Anytime, Bob.
Councilor Cheney, you're not on mute. Are you looking to speak?
I just wanted to thank Oli, as the others have. Oli and I have served on the hospital board together, and I'm aware of his efforts and his willingness to go above and beyond I look forward to hearing the vote next meeting confirming him.
Thank you very much.
Oli, I'll also say that my kids have used the pickup service and calling ahead and getting them, having them left outside, which I think has worked really quite well also. Someone grabs the book off the shelf, puts it outside, checks it out, and leaves it outside, and it's right there. It's really great.
What's been amazing on that is we haven't had any theft. It's been, the staff has been wonderful in making sure we can serve our customers as best we can. I can't say enough about the staff. It's been great.
Thanks, Oli. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll be taking this up again on February 22nd. So thanks for your willingness to serve, and thanks for taking time to sit with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next up under 10D is Bruce Knurr, seeking reappointment as an alternate member of the Library Board of Trustees to a term expiring at the end of March 2022. Mr. Knurr is currently an alternate on the Library Board of Trustees. His term expires at the end of March 2021, and he is requesting reappointment. Alternates to the Library Board of Trustees serve for one-year terms. In addition to Mr. Knurr's term, which is expiring, there are 2 vacant alternate positions on the board. 1 regular member position up for reappointment, and 1 vacant regular member position resulting from a current member not wishing to apply for reappointment. Mr. Knurr, if you're with us, I see you there. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyway, if you would just like to say hello to everybody and let us know why you'd like to be reappointed.
Good evening, council members. As Mr. Anderson just said, it has been an honor to be able to serve in this capacity. And as I've said to Chairman Moriarty, I recognized from other experiences the importance of having alternates who could step in and be seated and help a meeting reach a quorum and continue. And that has worked out well. I'll say this jokingly. I hope Mr. Anderson's still watching. Seek reappointment because I'm still trying to learn from him and keep him in line sometimes too. And maybe more seriously, COVID has disrupted so much, as we all know. And there were some things that we were just starting to think about developing when, the world came sort of crashing down. And so I'd like to be around when the governor lifts the emergency order and things get back to something like normal, and to be part of some things in the future.
Terrific. Thanks very much. I'll look to my fellow councilors here to see if there are any comments or questions. Seeing none, I just want to say again, thank you for joining us this evening. Thanks for your willingness to continue to serve.
You're quite welcome. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye. Moving right along to 10E, Ms. Gail Putnam has chosen not to seek appointment to the Library Board of Trustees, so that'll come off our agenda, things to do. Moving on to 10F, we have Catherine Tokars, who's seeking reappointment as an alternate member of the Heritage Commission to a term expiring at the end of March 2024. Ms. Tokars is currently an alternate on the Heritage Commission. Her term expires at the end of March 2021, and she is requesting reappointment. In addition to Ms. Tokars' term, which is expiring, there are 2 vacant alternate positions on the commission. So, Ms. Tokars, if you're with us this evening, I'd love to have you say hello.
Mr. Mayor, this is Glenn Smith.
Hello, Glenn.
See Ms. Tokars as an attendee. If she is here using somebody else's computer, perhaps, and under a different name, I'd like to ask her to raise her hand. And there it is. Just a minute, please.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, welcome. It's nice to have you.
It's actually my computer, but I do Zoom. I host Zooms for the downtown gym for Rocksteady Boxing. So it's kind of a dual purpose computer. So
I didn't spot you as a boxer.
Oh, yeah, you should see me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, now everyone's on notice to stay online.
Watch
Okay.
out, watch out.
Well, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I spent some time thinking about whether or not I should re-up for an alternate for the Heritage Commission. I'm passionate about historical structures, and I'm passionate about Laconia. It just doesn't seem like we always have success in what we want. But still, that being said, I do desire to serve again as an alternate for the Heritage Commission. And we haven't been successful always in preserving Laconia's historical structures, but we nevertheless will continue to strive to do that. But keeping in mind that the progressive nature of new ownership and the lack of commitment to preserve rather than reconstruct is a roadblock to us. The downtown area studies will be completed this year, which has been a long-term goal of ours. And future area studies will be focused on Lakeport and the Weirs. These will be of significant historical benefit to the city for ages to come. And I'm going to take my hat off to Mark Haynes because he's just been with us all the way, and he's been very, very helpful as our liaison, and we appreciate him. So if you will have me, I would love to re-up for another couple years.
Thanks, Catherine. I'll look to my fellow counselors for questions. Counselor Felch.
Yeah, I just want to say hi, Catherine, and thank you for your service and everything you do in Laconia.
Oh, thanks, Tony. I appreciate that. Thank you all. And, you know, as far as Ole and Harrison and Bruce Canuer, I mean, I know everybody else, those are the only ones that I know, but we really live in a fantastic city. And we are lucky to have so many people like yourselves and those who will throw their hat in the ring and do the work that needs to be done to keep our city viable. And I appreciate it.
Well, Catherine, you're making everyone blush right now, but
I'm sure. You know, I can see your faces, right? All right. Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you very much. Moving on to number 10G. We have Elizabeth Ballantyne seeking reappointment as a regular member of the Putnam Fund to a term expiring at the end of March 2026. Elizabeth Ballantyne is currently a regular member on the Putnam Fund. Her term expires at the end of March 2021, and she is requesting reappointment. And this, like our other interviews, will be addressed at our next meeting, February 22nd, 2021. So Betty, if you're with us, and I see your name just pop up, hello, how are you?
Hi, hello, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. Maybe just let us know a little bit about why you'd like to continue to serve on the Putnam Fund.
Well, definitely the Laconia Putnam Fund is a gem to the city. And I have been very proud and pleased to have the opportunity to serve them for the last 32 years. And I'm looking forward to the next 5. We're very excited with what's going on with the Colonial Theater and where that can bring us as a community. We hope to be an important part, maybe even the beginning of the very first program, introducing the Colonial free of charge to the local citizens. We are in contact with your agent. I'm pleased with their meeting that they had and sharing with us their goals. And I can see they're going to be very community minded, and I'm very thrilled about that. I truly enjoy the program. It's we have a small working board. There's only 5 of us. We all have our important roles, and we have a great mix of people. I enjoy taking care of the marketing of the programs, and I do handle the minutes as well. And whatever they need me to do, now that I've recently retired, almost all completely, it has allowed me more time. You always find time, you know that. no matter what your hours are, and if you have a true passion, you'll find the time. But I just, I feel freer to be able to commit more to the Putnam program. I hope to be able to do so again for the next 5 years.
Great. Thanks very much, Betty. I think we're very fortunate to have the Putnam Fund here to partner with
Oh, yes.
the Colonial and Spectacle Management. I think I can understand why you'd want to stay on for another 5 years, that's for sure. But I'll look to fellow counselors for questions or comments. Betty? Counselor Susie.
Betty, I want to thank you very much. I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. And when I heard you say that maybe the first show might be, through the Putnam Fund, I think that's even better. That'd be a fantastic way to show the city and everybody around, because I know it looks at the whole Lakes region, the fantastic job that the team has put together in that theater. So thank you again very much.
Oh, you are most welcome. I wish I could say that firmly. It's our commitment that we'd like to have that opportunity, but we know it's not entirely up to us. But we are willing and ready to cooperate should that opportunity be there for us. But thank you.
Counselor Hamel.
Yes, thank you. I've known Betty for a long time, and she's very involved in the city and stuff. And to be on a board for 32 years is no small task. They brought a lot of great shows to Laconia at the high school. And just thinking maybe towards the end of this year, middle of this year, they'd be able to do this at the Colonial.
Oh, wow.
It'd be fantastic. And I hope they bring a good show. Thank you, Betty.
Oh, you're most welcome, Bob. Happy to participate.
Yes, thank you, Betty.
All right, thank you.
All right, Betty.
Gentlemen,
Thanks so much.
you're welcome.
Moving on to item number 10H. B. Randy Haas, seeking reappointment as a regular member of the trustees of the trust funds to a term expiring at the end of March 2024. Mr. Haas is currently a regular member of the trustees of the trust funds. His term expires at the end of March 2021, and he is requesting reappointment. Mr. Haas, I see you've signed on. Hello.
Hi, how's everybody today?
You're doing really well. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Can you maybe just let us know why you're seeking reappointment?
Well, I've enjoyed working with the trustees for the last 2 years, as I'm one of the newer members. And as you all know, John Nivas, who recently passed away, did a great job, and I'd like to see if I can continue with that job. Being the chair, I've been appointed the chairman, and I'd like to continue with this work and help the city out with their trustees of trust funds.
Thanks very much, Mr. Haas. We appreciate your willingness to serve and for joining us tonight. Any questions or comments from counselors?
I'd just like
Counselor Hamel.
Just like to thank Mr. Haas for stepping up again. I appreciate it very much. And I know the city does too.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to do it.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Haas, thanks again very much. And we'll be following up at the council's next meeting, which is on February 22nd.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. Moving on to 10I, I have Jane LaRoche seeking appointment as an alternate member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to a term expiring at the end of August 2024. Ms. LaRoche is seeking appointment as an alternate member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to a term expiring at the end of August 2024. Currently, there are 4 alternate positions available on the board. So Jane, hopefully I was pronouncing your last name correctly. If not, please correct me.
I do prefer to have it LaRoche instead of LaRoche, but
I'm
that's
going to
okay.
get that for you. Okay.
I lived in Berlin, New Hampshire for a few years, and I was LaRoche up there. My name changed, but I grew up as a LaRoche.
All right, my apologies, and I'll know better.
It's okay. I'm even a New Hampshire native, which lately has been very rare. I moved to Laconia a little over 12 years ago because this is where I always wanted to retire, and I finally did that in June. And the only other involvement I really had in the city is I did participate in the Laconia Police Academy, which I found very interesting because I'd like to see how a lot of the different parts of the city works. And boy, that was a good one. I think Laconia has a lot of changing and they're moving up, and I would really like the opportunity to become involved. And I thought the zoning board would be a great place to start.
Well, really appreciate you, your willingness to serve, Ms. LaRoche, and I'll be looking to fellow councilors with questions for Ms. LaRoche. Seeing, oh, Councilor Lippman.
Just asking if you've had an opportunity to attend some of the meetings or observe some of the zoning meetings and your ability to fulfill the meeting requirements.
I've only been to some of the planning board meetings. I haven't been to any of the zoning board meetings. Again, I just retired in June, and because of COVID, they weren't having them live, and I guess I am guilty of not participating in the Zoom meetings. I would love to go to the live meetings.
Thank you.
I think we all sort of long for the live meetings as much as we're getting used to the Zoom meetings now, though. I see that your experience is on the automotive side and banking. What did you do in that respect?
Oh, actually, when I started in the automotive business, I did 9 years working as a business manager, 3 years up at Berlin City, and then the other 6 years working with Paul Holloway over in the Seacoast area. And then I got on the banking side with Citizens Bank, which was a lot. Mr. Mayor, you understand the car business. At least I had weekends off there. If you don't have a strong work ethic, that isn't the business you want to be in. And I do have a really strong work ethic. And that's why I still want to continue to do something. I was very good administratively, and that was my strength. And I did a lot of training for Citizens Bank too when they hired new people. And that was really fun. And I think one of my strongest assets is people skills. I love being with people, and that's one thing I miss about being retired, and especially during COVID. I don't have that kind of contact anymore, and I'll get back into it. And I think the whole city and everybody else will finally, when everyone gets their vaccines and everything starts settling down. Hopefully, we can come back to a more normal life.
Absolutely. Well, you had great training at Berlin City, and certainly if it was Dan Digest and certainly Paul Holloway. So
yes, Danny Digest bought my brother's dealership, so I have something in common with you.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, thanks very much. It's nice to meet you over Zoom. And if there are no further questions, we'll let you go, and we will be following up on your application on February 22nd.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Moving on to 10J, we have Susan Hodgkins seeking appointment as a regular member or alternate member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to a term expiring at the end of August 2024. Susan Hodgkins is seeking appointment as a regular member or an alternate member of the ZBA. Currently, there are no regular member positions available, but there are 4 vacant alternate positions on the board, each with terms expiring at the end of August 2024. Ms. Hodgkins has also submitted an application for appointment as either a regular member or an alternate member on the planning board. Individuals are not allowed to serve on both the zoning board and planning board simultaneously. Ms. Hodgkins has indicated that her preference would be to serve on the planning board, but has submitted both applications for the council's consideration and decision. So Ms. Hodgkins, if you're with us, I see you've signed on. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Maybe let us know a little bit about yourself and why you're seeking appointment.
Well, I have been a member of this community since 2001, moved here full-time in 2009. I also have been involved in the real estate business for 25 years now. and began my career in Concord. And actually, that's where I really mostly grew up there and raised my family there and so forth. My husband and I live here, and we both work together as realtors. My interest in my level of interest in seeking a position, and as you noted, I've applied for both. I do gravitate towards the planning board because I've been involved more in that aspect because of the nature of my business. And I'm very mindful of what's going on as far as the new builds that are going on around here and the planning that has gone into it. And I want to serve the community in protecting what growth that may come forward from this point on. Also being mindful that it's healthy, but I also want to, as I said, protect and really be a voice in the community that's new and fresh with new ideas. And I have never served on any board. I did try to be elected as city councilor, and Councilor Cheney and I were up against one another, and we had a wonderful experience together. And I've spoken with Bruce about doing either position, and he encouraged it very much. So I just decided to step up to the plate and try to see if I could be of service.
Well, that's great. But, and, you know, I was thinking when you said you had a wonderful experience with Councilor Cheney, I just think, who doesn't?
I know, he's a great man.
Careful.
Thank you, Susan. I'd look to the counselors for any questions they may have.
If I might, Mr. Mayor,
Please.
I did encourage Susan to apply. I got to know her during our joint campaign for city council, and have come to appreciate her very much. And I look forward to voting to put her on one of these two boards. She means what she says, and I think she'll be a valuable asset to either board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cheney. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Hodgkins? Councilor Hamel.
Not so much a question for her, but where she's applied to both and is primarily interested in the planning board, and there is an alternate position there, also on the zoning board too. There's an alternate. Then I'd suggest that we might take off the zoning board one and keep her as the planning board, so it doesn't get confusing.
I am fine with whatever you decide. I applied for both, not knowing how many people would be applying for either position. I would serve to my greatest passion in either role, but if you would prefer me to be in planning or zoning, you folks decide, and I'd be happy to take myself off one or the other.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hodgkins. Really appreciate it. I'll just look to the city manager right now. Is there any reason for us to go through the formality of calling out agenda item 10K and Ms. Hodgkins' application for the planning board?
No, I think the fact that you kind of blended them in with the staff report, you just acknowledged that we covered both of them with that last interview, and you can move on to 10L.
Terrific. Seeing no further questions or comments, again, thanks, Ms. Hodgkins, for joining us tonight and your willingness to serve.
Thank you so much.
And I just want to acknowledge for the record that we have combined 10J and 10K, which is Susan Hodgkins' application for appointment as a regular member of the planning board or alternate member of the planning board, as well as her application for appointment as a regular member or alternate member of the zoning board of adjustment. Moving on to 10L, we have Deanna Geyer seeking reappointment as a regular member of the Parks and Recreation Commission to a term expiring at the end of March 2024. Deanna Geyer is currently a regular member of the Parks and Recreation Commission. Her term expires at the end of March 2021, and she is requesting reappointment. In addition to Ms. Geyer's term, which is expiring, there is one vacant regular member position on the commission. So Deanna, I see you've signed in. Welcome. It's nice to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hi, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I am excited to come back for my third term, hopefully. It's been great. The last 6 years has been wonderful. Working with Parks and Rec, Amy and Matt now. Matt's brought on a new insight on things too, so it's been great to have new blood. Working with the gentleman on the board, keeping them straight and narrow there. But it has been great and I love it. Working with all different groups, working with the different parks groups, Tony working at Levitt Park, upgrading the buildings, working on Bond Beach has been wonderful. The improvements at Bond Beach, we've done a lot there. With the Weirs Beach, working with that, updating everything there, new bathhouses. I've seen a lot change in the last 6 years and it's been wonderful. I've coached for 26 years in the city. I was president for soccer for 22 years. Continuing to coach as my son's 22 this week. I still continue to coach. I work Bank of New Hampshire. I'm 25 years there now. So I'm very oriented in the city, very well known in the city and love the city. So I'd love to continue working to make our parks better for the youth and adults as well.
Thanks, Deanna. Not only well-known, but well-respected. I can certainly attest to your level of commitment to youth soccer in the city has been extraordinary. That's a long time to be involved at the level you've been involved in. So thank you very much for creating a program here that I think is really top-notch. So
thank you, sir.
So I'd look to the other counselors here for any questions or input. Counselor Hamel.
Yes, I just want to put in a good word for Deanna. She's a great board commission member, and she brings a lot to the table there at Parks and Rec. And I think she does a terrific job, and I'll certainly be voting for her.
Thank you, Bob.
You're very welcome.
Counselor Felch.
Yes, hello, Deanna. Same, I'll echo what Counselor Hamel said. She's done a great job with the commission, and I've worked with her on several occasions. So thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Any other questions? Yes, no, none. Seeing none, Deanna, again, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for your decades now of commitment to the city. It's greatly appreciated. We're a better community because of your service. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving right along to number 13 on our agenda, which is a public hearing on resolution 2021-02 relative to authorizing the city manager to accept donated funds on behalf of the city. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the January 27, 2021 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun and posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Public Library, Laconia Community Center, and the SAU. Action on this item will be taken up under unfinished business later on in the meeting. So I'd like to open the public hearing on resolution 2021-02 at 7:48 p.m. And if anyone would like to make a comment in regards to that, please raise your hand, let yourself be known. You have an opportunity to do so.
Mr. Mayor, nobody has raised their hand.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So not taking any public input on this matter at this time, I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:49 p.m. February 8th, 2021. Moving along to item number 14 right now, under 14A, we have the Timberman event. And I know Audra Tassone Indek and Scott Langham from Ironman Timberman have joined us this evening. I think everyone has probably received the document sent from Audra and Ironman, which is memorializes what the Ironman has agreed to bring to the city if the city were to agree to host this event. I certainly want to appreciate everybody that certainly I've had an opportunity to speak with over the past couple of weeks in regards to this event. I will say that we have recently received, I hope you all have it. If not, I'll make sure to get it to you, but a letter of support from Celebrate Laconia and Jared Gamet, talking about how much the Celebrate Laconia organization supports this event. We've also heard from a number of local business people and merchants as to how this event would impact them. Anyway, Audra, I will, if you're there, if you would like to just review what you've reduced to writing and sent along to the city council members.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much, Mayor Hosmer, the city manager, and the Laconia city councilors. Scott and I really appreciate the opportunity to further discuss the possibility of bringing this world-class event to this area. So just to recap what we've put together, we are committing to bringing 4,000 athletes to this area to participate in the event. It'll be a 2-day event. Saturday will be for women. Sunday will be for the men. We'll have women pros at this event, so there'll be quite a bit of media coverage. Outside of this, the Ironman hub or headquarters per se will be located in Laconia.
We lost you.
This is Scott. I can jump in for a little bit while Audra's connection is getting reestablished. But to Audra's point, the hub of the event will be within the city. It'll be a huge driver for the athletes. We'll have transition located there, the finish line. It'll be the home base for the event, and it'll really make it centric. It'll make it the lead spot where everyone's going to gather from out of town.
Thank you, Scott.
That glitch might have been on our end. I was asking to move Audra up from audio so we could also get her on video, and we may have caused that. So our apologies, Audra, if we knocked you offline there for a second.
No problem whatsoever. That's fine. So to piggyback off of what Scott was saying, what we're looking to do is a 3-year commitment. What we have asked Laconia to provide is, well, and in conjunction, Ironman will commit to $20,000 worth of volunteerism grants. And then in lieu of that, we're going to also commit to additional $10,000 to grants for local community organizations. As I said, we're looking at a multi-year partnership. And then talking to the city manager on the needs of what we're asking for just a small financial contribution. We're looking for medical assistance, the ambulances on Saturday and Sunday. We're also looking for the venues, being able to have those as for in-kind. Police officers for 2 days. Currently, we're looking at 6 posts for those 2 days. And then on top of that, we're looking for having help with from waste management or the city of Laconia, where they would provide 3 20-yard dumpsters. And I apologize if I got the footage wrong, and staff, 2 staff members for both days. And then we will get volunteers to help collect the trash throughout the race weekend.
To add to that, I mean, as you're well aware, given the presentations that you've seen over the course of time that we've been presenting this, the event is anticipated to bring in approximately $8 million of economic impact. I think the intangible item that you'll see as the event gets established is that it's going to be a really big endurance tourism piece for the city. Athletes are going to be more geared to one race or another. And when they are geared toward that race, they make it their A race. And in order to make an event that level, they want to train on it. They want to come into town. They want to see the course. They want to experience the event prior to going to the event. They want to make sure that they're setting themselves up for success. This is their marquee event, and they want to make sure they put themselves in the best position to succeed at it. So while they're doing that, that's increased tourism dollars to the city and repeat customers and repeat visitors for you all.
Thanks very much. Okay, so Scott, City Manager, would you walk us through a little bit here what you presented or sent along to us, the triathlon staffing costs, just so we have a good grasp of this?
Yes, happy to, Mr. Mayor. So we have done what we feel are some very solid estimates and erred on the side of being maybe a little heavier, just because there's some unknowns as to the route and what major street pinch points and closings might be needed, and also what availability could be there from state police and the CERT team. So what we've included in here are what we're referring to as the true hard cost, the actual cost that will incur from staffing on the weekends. Some of the soft costs, no different than for Pumpkin Fest or for Motorcycle Week, occur Monday through Friday with regular staff time, whether it's planning meetings, whether it's a technical review, whether it's staging of traffic barricades or trash barrels and stuff. So soft costs are accounted for in our general operating budget. These are all hard costs. So again, subject to final routes and stuff, we've said 10 police officers to be scheduled once the event hits in Laconia for 6 hours each day. So our coverage would begin when bikers come up, most likely Route 106 up South Main Street and come into the downtown, and how we transition them over to the middle school and Opeachy Park area for where they're going to get off the bikes and start the run. And then going into the run, utilizing, we think, some quieter streets and possibly the Wow Trail, again, still to be determined. But we will obviously have a couple of crossing points, whether it be over Parade Road or North Main Street, depending again on the logistics, with the race finally coming up and finishing up Main Street. So we've looked again, 10 officers, 6 hours a day times 2 days with cruisers where appropriate. We've committed to fund one dedicated ambulance with 2 EMS staff on it to cover race-related activities, calls. If that ambulance were to be deployed, it's Tipperman's responsibility to backfill through another contracted service to come in and be another dedicated ambulance for race-related calls. We would not be leaving the city short. We would still have our full staffing on between the 2 stations and the ability to mobilize our other 2 ambulances with no problems. And then obviously we've got a great mutual aid network in the region to it. As Audra had alluded to, 3 20-yard dumpsters, planning one in the downtown, one at Opeachy, one over the middle school where Athletes Village and or registration packets and that type of stuff is occurring in some of the initial setup. We've estimated some tonnage, which we would pay the tipping fee on. And again, 2 DPW staff to help just kind of oversee operations, be the lead, work with some volunteer groups to assist with trash in the downtown and also in the fields area. We've had discussions with the school. They're willing to make the middle school gymnasium available for registration pickup and whatever else in there. As athletes come into town, we've got a couple of electronic messaging boards that we would also provide the use for to assist with directing traffic or putting that type of information out there. So that collectively, all in, we think is $16,350 in hard costs, covering all of that for the 2 days. And again, subject to final tallying, but we believe that to be, very much in the ballpark number.
So a couple of things there. First question I have would would be for Audra and Scott. Based on the information that the city manager has just provided, is that, you know, the parameters, you know, generally what you're looking for from the city as far as services provided?
From a services perspective, yes, those are in line with services that we would ask from a city. Yes.
Okay. And I would look to my fellow counselors right now. Do you have questions of perhaps Scott right now, just in regards to hard costs that he's put together on the city side? Seeing none right now, Scott, if it's appropriate, and now might open it up to the counselors if they've got questions of either Audra or Scott. Counselor Hamel.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank Audra and Scott for considering Laconia for this event. I think it would be a fantastic thing to bring here for not only Laconia, but the Lakes region. In reviewing everything and then our discussions in the past and seeing what the city and what Scott just explained about the police, the emergency services, CERT team, you know, waiving the venue fees, the EMS, the trash pickup billboards and all that kind of thing. I would like to propose, and that's just me, that the city be all in at $20,000. So that's what I was kind of be looking for. And also, I know there was other questions about some of the other councilors had about the nonprofits in Laconia, if they could participate at some venue somewhere, maybe downtown or wherever. I'd like to have that considered also. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. So whatever the other councils would like to discuss, that would be fine.
So Hamel, I think it's wise that we've got I think that's the one thing about taking this event on, having a not to exceed number for the city to sort of control our expenses on this, I think is wise. I don't know if that, but I think that's a nice way to approach it. Councilor Susi, you saw your hand up, right?
Yes. Audra and Scott, I want to thank you very much. I think it is awesome also, but I have a couple of questions. And Audra, I tried to reach you and there was no luck. Okay.
Oh, I apologize. I did.
That's all right. But the couple of questions. Number one, as you probably know, we received a couple of letters. Okay, some letters from some citizens, mostly in favor, but one I want to clarify that wasn't really in favor, saying that when this event is held at another venue, I think they're specifically thinking about either Portland or Orchard, there was no investment made by the municipality.
Mhm.
Okay, and why were we being asked to do that?
Yeah.
And then go ahead, answer that, and I'll go to the others.
So that event we actually acquired from a licensee. So we just took on the responsibilities that the licensee put together, so that Iron Man did not go in there and do the negotiation. So we were locked into a special use permit for multiple years, which ends, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, I believe this year it ends, or next year.
I believe it's next year that it ends. But if you were to take all of our events throughout the U.S. and of the portfolio of the 7.3 events that we have, this is, from a services perspective, this is in line with what we generally ask. I mean, like we were talking about in the letter, there's a cash component to it, and then there's a VIK component to the contracts. And you know, this event, you know, we're looking to bring it back, and we want to grow this in partnership with you all. But this is definitely on the lower end of what we've asked from a city. So this is an event that we're deeply passionate about bringing back. It's one that has been in the circuit for a while, and we're refreshing it by putting a new spin on it, by having, you know, more of a downtown feel to engage some more of the restaurants and storefronts, and to you know, make Laconia the true hub of the event.
Okay, the next question from one of the letters we received. I know that this year you're playing in August, Is it possible that the following years you move it to maybe September?
Scott and I have discussed that, and that is not off the table. Just for this year, it would have to be in August because of COVID. Our race calendar is very back heavy in the fall. So that's not out of the question moving forward.
Okay, because as you know, from you being a resident, the
Yeah.
summer here is pretty well booked all over the place. And, you know, we used to have the big race in Loudon in September. That's been pulled, and that's back in July now. So I
Right.
think it'd be very, very nice, especially in the fall weather, you know, before Pumpkin Fest, you might say, and do something like this, okay? The next question, I'm not sure if you can answer it or not, okay? What is the entry fee for the participant?
So it's a tiered entry fee. You know, you start off at a lower level, and then we work it up depending on how many athletes we're looking at capturing. We actually haven't done the financials on what we think this event would cost. We need to have further conversation with you all, and that'll kind of determine the price points. But standard for a 70.3 event is around, I want to say, $325 to $350
for each participant to pay.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So at roughly 4,000 participants, that's what you intake for funds.
I mean, that's gross. That's not net. I mean, there's
right, because you have people that come up, you got staff, because and all that kind of. I understand all that. Okay.
Yeah.
The next question has to do with the nonprofits that Bob alluded to. Is that I know that wherever you're going to headquarters, it's going to be somewhere downtown or at the school or somewhere. Okay, you're going to have probably your own vendors or your own stores or whatever. What I was getting at is that in the city, we have some great nonprofits like the Children's Auction, which you're probably familiar with, Audra. Okay.
Yep.
But I'm not sure where you're located, so that's why I asked that question. Okay.
No, absolutely.
And you know, the Boys Club and all the other venues that we have, and I'd like to be able to see if they were participating. I know you said you put money aside, but you have that many people come up, and that's just the participants. We're probably looking at, I would say, if they bring their families and you got 4,000 participants, you're well in excess of 10 to 15,000 people. Okay, in total over a couple of days, not more. Okay, and from, you know, they want to set up in either Veterans Square on the main street or somewhere along the parade, the routes. And I wish we knew what the routes were. Okay, and I guess you haven't settled that all out yet. That's why I was asking about the nonprofits. Okay, and give them those opportunities. Okay. The other question I have is the swimming. Is that going to be up in Elacoya?
Right now, we're looking at Elacoya. Yes, there's a potential of maybe Weirs Beach, but historically it's been at Elacoya, and we would like to keep it over there.
Okay, what kind of arrangement do you have to make with the state of New Hampshire on that, as far as fees or whatever else like that?
Well, we're working through that right now. In the past, you know, obviously I had to pull a permit, and I worked with the director of parks, Kevin Donovan, at that time, who has retired. Right. And then what we would do is we would come up. They would tell me what they would want for the rental of the facility.
Okay, because I would, and I'm not speaking for any of my other fellow councilors, especially Councilor Cheney, who covers the Weirs area. I would like to see the beach, Weirs Beach used, or maybe that area used. That brings in more opportunity. Let's say that way.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I mean, that's where I'm at. Thank you very much for answering my questions.
Thank you very much.
And to readdress your nonprofit piece, an element of the conversation, you know, we're looking to give back 20,000 from an organizing standpoint. So any nonprofit that wants to work with us in organizing the event, we have $20,000 available for those entities. In addition, we have another $10,000 grant that we're going to give back. So $30,000 total to local nonprofits. And typically, since we were talking earlier about, you know, other 70.3s, typically it's about 15,000 to 20,000 total. So this is going to be 30,000, which will be obviously greater than what we're doing in other locations.
Right, and I think that's awesome, Scott. But let's say, for example, okay, Audra,
Yep.
if you held this at the Weirs, okay, which I think would be a great venue, especially with the beach and everything else we're trying to do. Those stores and establishments, whether at the Weirs or along the route, okay, if I'm with any of our nonprofits and I want to set up a little cover tent and sell water at a buck a bottle or something else like that, are you prohibiting those kinds of things? I gotta ask that question because.
Yeah, I think we need to have a further conversation on that, just so I can really grasp what you're asking, because there is an expo piece to this, which is more of national vendors, and there'll be some local vendors there as well that, you know, we'll bring on in. It's closer to, you know, the merchandise tent and the registration tent and things of that nature. But then there's, you know, if it's by storefronts and things like that nature, it's no different than a restaurant putting up a stand outside their storefront and selling water. If that's what you're asking.
No, what I'm talking about is and I hope I'm not taking any other counselor's time here. I apologize. But if you say, for example, O-Pee-Chee, okay, or stuff like that, where you're going to be pretty well, that's going to be a central point for you, okay, O-Pee-Chee. What you bring into O-Pee-Chee for your expo, if that's where you're going to have it, that's totally up to you. Okay, in my mind, I'm not speaking for the whole council. Okay, what I'm talking about is that they start coming up Main Street, okay, and one of the stores or restaurants or even a nonprofit, or they're somewhere along the routes, okay. If they want to set up something, is that in violation? Or not? Maybe that's a strong word. Is that not what you're not going to allow that?
Now, we have a lot of events that, you know, I mean, especially if it's a finish line on a main street, that the restaurants will actually extend their presence and come out to the street. They have some, you know, some patios and things of that nature, and they'll sell grab and go sandwiches and water and things of that nature. If there was a nonprofit that was doing something along those lines, you know, I think that's well within the spirit of the event.
Okay, thank you very much.
Counselor, just to piggyback to your comment, in the past, we had the Laconia Fire Department down at Elacoya, and what they would do is sell spectator food to help fund, you know, their some of their training programs. So that's, you know, that's definitely something that we could look at too, is having a nonprofit help out either with the athlete food or something along those lines.
Again,
not to cut you too short here, Councilor Susi, and I think your point is excellent. You know, where there are plenty of nonprofits out here that may look for opportunities to get involved, and you know, once we set the route and we know where the race is going to be and where the proper locations may be for perhaps nonprofits selling something, I think that's a discussion we can have. But you know, I'm also concerned about when I think about the economic effect that this will have on our local for-profit businesses. You know, I'm excited about those opportunities as well. So I want to find the right balance when we get to that point to look for balance between our nonprofits and our restaurants and you know, who struggled to really get through this past year. So I'd love to work with you and find that proper balance, though.
And we can go into, even when it comes down to the additional $10,000 community grant, we can talk through what nonprofits, you know, you all feel would benefit the most. And so there's a lot of ways, to the mayor's point, we can work around this.
Councilor Haynes, I see you raising your hand.
Yes,
Hello.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi. I think it's great, and I'm in favor of it. The only thing I'd like to suggest is that after the initial year, I'd like to see a review mechanism where, you know, where people could just sit down, whether it's the council or some of the businesses or whatever, and just have a general review of the positives and the negatives and what we can do better and that kind of stuff. So that would be my suggestion. And also, Mr. Mayor, was that a motion?
I don't know if we've heard a motion quite yet.
Okay.
No, it
Let-
wasn't,
There's one thing I want to check with on this, on the cost. I'm sorry, Bob, just to make sure, because before we start making a motion to commit city funds, I want to make sure that, as Mayor Engler always said, it's how are we going to pay for this stuff, right? And I just want to make sure that, that we've got that covered. And I don't, I'm wondering whether, it seems to me that it should be part of this budget. And I'd ask the city manager to speak to whether we can figure this out in this year's budget, or whether it needs to go to next year's budget. And if so, if we can figure it out, can we afford it?
Well, thank you for the question. That's the $64 question that we all face every year. So to be honest with you, this year has been challenging and unique. So talking fiscal year, obviously it goes back to last March for us here in New Hampshire for the most part. But, fiscal year, end of last year, but starting this year, July 1 has been unique. There's been a number of things that we've not been able to do COVID related. There have been a number of items we've had to fund that were not on our radar, originally in spending dollars on things going forward. A number of programs have supported some reimbursements. I think overall, I would rather identify, if the number is not to exceed 20,000, I would rather identify $20,000 between now and June 30th and park it aside and have the dollars sitting there, so to speak, that we've committed and we've got them, rather than so many unknowns right now with what's happening with the state budget that the governor is presenting on Thursday, and how revenues to municipalities may be impacted, what our budgets may, look like on a number of revenue sources. So the short answer is I'm confident that that Glenn Smith and I can identify, if the number is 20,000, commit to it, lock it in now, and have those funds. And that way we're not having competing interest in what is more than likely going to be a challenging budget year beginning July 1.
So, now, Bob, Councilor Hamel, excuse me, I cut you off when I posed that question to the city manager. I apologize. So go right ahead.
No apology needed. Councilor Haynes asked if I made that as a motion, and I'm holding that in reserve for right now, listening to the other councilors. But that would be my intent at some point here.
So I guess I turn this over a little bit to Iron Man, to the extent that that seems to be the ballpark dollar amount that the city's working within. And if what I understand Councilor Hamel has said is that if we are at a not to exceed number of $20,000, obviously that'll take some trust on behalf of Iron Man, because we may have $16,350 in city expenses, or we may have less. But it seems to me that delta between what the hard costs are and $20,000 would be, the difference there we're talking about.
Okay.
Does that make sense to what I just said, Scott and Audra?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Talked in terms.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yep. Sorry.
It's okay.
We talked in terms of a 3-year contract at one point in time for this event. If this year, a do not exceed of 20,000 in services. I know at one point we talked about some kind of a cash contribution along with the services. Is that something that we can work toward in year 2 and 3, maybe keeping the services the same, and then tiering it? I understand budgets are established and we're sensitive to that, but if this is established this year and then we look to years 2 and 3, we can keep the services the same, and then work more towards some of the cash services that cash contributions that we were talking about, along with the VIK.
As far as myself, I would be willing to think about that. Absolutely. I think, as Scott mentioned, obviously this year hasn't been a great year for the city as far as finances, and who knows what next year is going to bring. The state is going through their budget now. So I think that could be discussed in years 2 and 3.
So I guess what you're saying there, Bob, is that it will do 20, we could do a not to exceed number of 20 this year. Next year, Ironman would like to discuss hard costs associated with services from within the city, and then maybe moving a little moving closer to 31, which the way I look at this is there was a request for 15,000. We've got hard costs of 16,000. That would have been $31,000 in cost to the city. So we're at 20, you're at 31 right now. We could do 20 this year, but next year we would be looking to, based on the success of this year, which I think will be significant, based on where the city is as far as their revenues and their budget, get it coming off the 20,000 and maybe going higher based on our review committee that Councilor Haynes had suggested here.
Yeah, I agree with that because, I mean, it'll give us a year to see, what the expenses actually are and where we're headed. So I think that's a good plan.
So Scott, I guess in reply to you, it sounds, yes, that's acceptable to us, based on Councilor Hamill's potential motion here. Is there another councilor who would like to weigh in on this before perhaps Councilor Hamill makes a motion here? I just want to make sure that we've covered as much as we should be covering here. So I'd ask if that's your motion, Councilor Hamill, we'd be looking for a motion, a second, further discussion, and then maybe what we want to do here is in my mind, is to make sure that Scott works with legal counsel and Scott Langen and Audra to formalize this in a document fairly, not quickly, but promptly. Does that schedule layout all right for you, Scott Myers? Sorry.
Absolutely. Once I get the parameters, we can, I'm sure they've got some standard documents and we'll get numbers plugged in and have our legal counsel review. So yes.
All right. And the goal being that you want to open up registration sometime this month, right?
Yeah, we would like to start rolling out our marketing plan websites and registrations rather quickly. Hopefully by the end of this month, if not, definitely March. So
First week of March, yeah.
So Councilor Hamill, if you're ready to make your motion, go right ahead.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the city provide the services outlined in the request, which would be police services, the CERT team, waiver of venue fees, let's see, use of the Memorial School, Peachy Park, track, beach area, main streets, municipal lot, use of O'Shea's Industrial Park. By the way, for that, have you made contact with them, Audra?
I've started, yes, I have made contact. Thank you.
Okay.
If I could jump in, I would not use anything on the O'Shea in your motion. That's something that we don't control. So I would just focus on what the city is providing. We'll certainly assist where we can, but we can't guarantee that.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. So scrub that. The MS, the waste management and the message boards, and that the city would be all in at $20,000 with a review after this year's race and set up a review committee as Councilor Haynes has mentioned. You have anything else, Scott?
I think we want to also mention that if upon successful review of the committee, the city is looking to commit to step up from the $20,000 level to a $31,000 level as appropriate over the next 2 years.
Okay.
And if I, Councilor Ham, if I can ask just one clarifying question.
Sure.
With the 20,000 all in, so this year, if we came back and we said, hey, hard expenses came in at 16, is your 20,000 all in, then meaning there's a $4,000 cash contribution to Ironman? And by the same token, if our hard expenses came in at 20,000, that there was no cash contribution to Ironman because the 20,000 was met?
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted that clarification, so thank you.
Yeah, and if, like you said, if it's 14,000, then they'll get this, more, so.
I'll second that.
So as a motion by Counselor Hamel, seconded by Counselor Cheney, is there any further discussion on this?
Yes.
Counselor Littman.
I just wanted to, for both the public's benefit and for the agreement that's put together in the unlikely event, or hopefully unlikely event, that there's a public health reason why we can't go forward, the expenditures that we're talking about here are not incurred until such time as the event's actually happening. So just so people understand that, and that we're looking to fund this, as the manager discussed, through a carry forward of expenses that were not incurred in our fiscal year 21 due to various reasons.
I'll
Thank you,
accept that as
Councilor.
a friendly motion, added motion. And
Friendly amendment.
also that, Scott comes up with an agreement that's good for everybody also. So I hope Cheryl has all that.
Yes,
I have the utmost confidence in you, Madam Clerk.
great.
All right, Counselor Felch, further discussion.
Yeah, I'd also like to add to that they do everything that they can to try to move it to September. It would be so much better for the area.
Mhm. For 2022, moving for.
Exactly.
Yep.
Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
Yes.
Counselor Littman,
Yes.
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
Counselor Felch.
Yes.
Well, with 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion and friendly amendment passes. So thank you, councilors, for your diligent work. Thank you, city manager, for working on this. I think this is a bold statement from the city government of Laconia to step up and support our local businesses. So I think this is really terrific. And thank you. Congratulations. So Audra and Scott will be continuing to coordinate with the city manager and legal counsel, and getting this reduced to writing as quickly and as feasibly as possible, right?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity and working with everyone here.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Scott Langen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you. Moving along to number 15, which is the mayor's report. Since we have a fair amount of work to do tonight, I'll keep my comments short. I do want to let the council know, and to any of the public that is tuning in right now, we do fully, as a city, do intend to embrace outdoor seating at our restaurants this year, which I think was one of the biggest hits throughout the city. As we went to COVID and there was limited seating capacity, and rightfully so. It was great to see restaurants moving to outdoor seating, to getting their plans approved by the city. And it was just great to drive by a number of restaurants during the nice weather months and see people outside dining and enjoying themselves. So in anticipation that outdoor seating will be popular again this summer, I'm encouraging the city will be reaching out to all of the restaurants that applied for and received approval for outdoor seating, just to let them know that they can anticipate it having not approved necessarily. They can anticipate having the city be supportive of outdoor seating, and will work diligently with the individual businesses to make sure that they are set up properly and have the proper permits in place. So I think that's great news, and thanks, city manager, for reaching out to our local restaurants. That being said, I would like to now go to number 16, which are councilor comments. I'll wait to see somebody raise his hand. Councilor Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to mention the fact that Ward 4 lost one of its former councilmen, Jim Cowan, and my thoughts and prayers go out to his wife, Joanne.
Thank you, Councilor Haynes. Councilor Littman, are you looking to say something? You're not on mute, that's all.
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right. All right, so if there are no other councilor comments at this point, we'll move right along to committee reports. And are there any committee reports? Seeing no one raising a hand, are there liaison reports this evening? Councilor Hamel.
Yes, just like to do a little update on the Colonial. I had a chance to walk through it with the mayor this afternoon, and pretty much all the seats now are installed, both main level and the balcony. They look beautiful. The brass piping railings are being cleaned and installed. A lot of painting is going on. There's still a lot of the plaster work being done, and some of it is being redone. And painting in the lobby area. The Canal Street side is pretty well painted now. The kitchenette, they're finally installing the equipment. So Scott ought to be happy about that, finally getting to it. So things are moving along well, and just can't wait to see that venue open. It's very, very beautiful. Just amazing what's gone on there in a year. So that's it.
Well, Councilor Hamel, I may be the mayor, but when you walk into that place, they roll out the red carpet for you, and they are the men and women working there are clearly appreciative of all of your work that you've done. So it's if those of you who haven't been there recently, get on over there. It's beautiful. It's stunning. It's really remarkable work. And thank you very much, Councilor Hamel, for your commitment to this really significant project. As Barry Salta said, once in a lifetime project for him.
It absolutely is. And not only myself, but all the contractors there consider that the same thing. It's a one-time in a lifetime endeavor for them. And the pride they have taken in the reconstruction of this building has just been amazing to watch. Everybody is just so proud of what they've done there and what the city invested in. And it's going to be just a fantastic venue.
Yeah, thanks. Any other liaison reports? Seeing none, move on to number 19, which is citizens request a comment on current agenda items. If we have members of the public who are tuned in with us tonight, would like to speak to an item that's on the agenda, now would be the appropriate time. And Mr. Smith, I'll wait for your cue.
Mr. Mayor, nobody has raised a hand.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to number 20, it's the city manager's report. I'll turn it over to Scott Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So not to be the Debbie Downer here, but while we love people to come over the Colonial, it's still an active work zone. There are a lot of contractors in there. You just can't show up and say, hey, I'd like to go into Colonial. So if we need to coordinate something, we're happy to do that with a very small group. But we've been good for 9 months, so let's just be good for another month.
So I was just thinking of the counselors. I wasn't speaking to everyone in the public.
Well, you've got Zoom and live YouTube streaming, and I can just see tomorrow morning this conga line going through the Colonial. So
fair enough. My bad.
So let's go into the financial and operational trends report. You can see the top of the page, the building permits ticked up again from its very high level, relatively speaking, of over 30 million. We know we have a couple of more building permits that have just arrived that are not included in that number. So we do expect that 30 million to bump up even higher than that between now and March 31st, which is the end of the assessing year, and that stops our building permit year. So this is the second component that we use for the tax cap calculation. The first number we already know is inflation ran at a 1.2% pace for calendar year 2020. I'm going to go through relatively quickly because we've got a lot of work still ahead of us tonight on the agenda. But fire and rescue calls, medical calls here on this page, and police calls on the next page continue to be busy in both departments. You can see the public assistance data has ticked up a little bit. for December and January and even into November a little bit from where it was. Part of this is colder weather. Part of this is still in COVID and certain shelters not being available for people at certain times and us having to incur some other expenses to place people in housing where appropriate. On the bottom of the second page, our two largest tax revenues in the city collection-wise. First one being property tax. You can look in the lower right corner, and we're running at over 97%, which is on par with the last 2 years. So both the payments that were due approximately July 1 and the payments that were due approximately January 1 have come in at a strong pace, which is a very encouraging sign for Laconia and our region. Similar thoughts with the motor vehicle registrations. You can see, again, lower right corner, we've collected 60% on the nose. In terms of the overall dollars, we're running around $60,000 ahead of last year's pace because we did bump up the revenue estimates just a little bit. So again, we are seeing strong collection of both of those. The overtime page and the very small font so we can fit everything in, as I've mentioned before, is a little bit skewed because we know we've got some reimbursements coming in here, but certainly overtime is up this fiscal year just due to Family Medical Leave Act that we're obligated to follow and support, due to quarantining, due to folks having a positive test, maybe a family member with a positive test. So a lot of some of that is available for reimbursement, as I shared with you on the numbers 2 weeks ago. And Glenn is truing everything out to tally everything out for the end of the year. But it is what it is, and overtime is up for those reasons across some various departments. You can look on page 4, the bottom of page 4, the impact fee revenue, again, coming in year to date over $14,000 being allocated to various departments. On the top of page 5, no significant changes in any of the reserve or trust balances at this point. Boat taxes, new calendar year is here. As the clerk reminded me after my last public service announcement to encourage people to register their boats in Laconia because more of the dollars stay here. You do not have to be a Laconia resident. You can be anywhere in New Hampshire. And she rightly pointed out that we will register out-of-state boats at Laconia City Hall as well. So we welcome all boaters to come in, and the clerk will put a smile on her face and be very happy to see you. The EMS billing numbers, we were trailing on December last month's report. And so we have December and January. Don't get alarmed by the number of billable trips in the January column. This is a very early meeting. We meet the second Monday of the month, which means when we start assembling the data, we're doing it as of Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. And some of those bills just have not been generated yet. So that'll all get trued up. So a little bit of a lag there. Ambulance revenue that was net billable is down a little bit in this fiscal year as compared to the prior fiscal year, which was on the next page. Again, obvious reasons. Some people aren't traveling as much. People are concerned about going into medical facilities where other issues may be going on, and it's just it is what it is. So some of that, to a large extent, is out of our control and how many calls for service that we do get. You can see the storm cost summary there. Mostly relatively small events. So other than the one very big event that we had toward the tail end of December, most of the events have been small. And as far as our overtime, our outside contractors and our winter maintenance and supplies of salt and sand, we're at a very strong position relative to where we are in the season at this point. I wanted to touch base on one more item dealing with the I gotta find my sheet here. Excuse me 1 second. Dealing with the Durkee Bridge project. Some of you may have been aware when we were doing some of the preparation work during this past fall that we hit significant groundwater much shallower than anticipated in that area, and to the point that it's really impacted the whole plan that we had on where we were running water lines in particular, and what we were doing with sewer lines. So we really had to work with our engineers right now, both water, public works, look at what that water table is doing to the project. We've also run into the mix of that underground water has contained some unsuitables at a level that we're not going to be able to put that rate back in and bypass it and go back into the Durkee Brook, which then leads into Lake Winnisquam. So we've got to figure out what the treatment is of that, and being a sizable amount of water, it looks to be more cost effective to actually be redesigning how we're going to hang water instead of replacing sewer, lining sewer in there. So all of these changes, no one anticipated from our prior testing. So that's kind of thrown us for a curve. We're working through what those changes look like. They're not finalized at this point. We definitely will be in there in the spring, doing some of the work that we can do. Again, lining existing sewer lines, looking to get the water line where it's going to go, a handle on it. All of that will occur with keeping two-way traffic open. We would lose one lane as we did back in the fall, but traffic would just shift over to the center lane and the travel lane closest to the lake while we were working there. At this point, it's not appearing, because of the setback, that the bridge would be closed this spring. It's looking like that needs to be moved to an alternate date, and we're very cognizant of everything else that goes on, including motorcycle week, hopefully this year, looking more normal, summer season, Labor Day, Pumpkin Fest. So we're really trying to pick an appropriate time to schedule that bridge shutdown for the 30 days. Not finalized yet, but it's most likely going to occur in between the Labor Day and Columbus Day period. And again, we're working at it, and part of that reason to not do it post Columbus Day is, or post Pumpkin Fest, is, in addition to the bridge closure, then we need to wrap up the approach to the bridge on both sides with the pavement work, and we can't do that until the bridge is done. So to push the project up from mid-October to mid-November for the bridge closure doesn't give us the opportunity to do the street paving on either sides there. So it is a less than desirable situation, but one that every staff and our contracted engineers are working to try to find the best solution. And we will keep you posted as we work through the details as to what it looks like. We are in regular communication with the businesses down there on Court Street so that they have the best information that's available at the time as well. So I'm happy to take questions on that, or the financial and operational trends report, or anything else you may have tonight.
Councilor Hamel.
Is the, since they found unsuitables there, is the state involved with the pricing on that?
The state will determine where we're able to take that water to have it be treated properly with what the contamination level is. And I don't want to over exaggerate what the level is. And I'm just double checking here. And I believe Wes is on this call as well. And if he sees me say something that is incorrect, or I've missed the point down, we certainly can ask Wes to raise his hand, and we can have Glenn unmute him. But we feel the material is more just in what's kind of found in the urban core over years of business and road construction and sidewalk materials, and as opposed to anything on a hazardous nature. But it is above a level that we're not looking to pump it back into the lake. Options are to pump it into tankers, which at the rate we were getting it on the original design was significant, and we were more than likely not going to be able to keep up with that. We do have a request in that went in last week to the Commissioner at Department of Environmental Services to talk about a temporary connection into the Winnipesaukee River Basin system and have the material treated at the treatment plant in Franklin. It certainly is of the nature where that could happen. We were not successful in getting that waiver approval at the administrative level through the WRBP. So I've got to request it to the commissioner. Even if that were successful, I don't know if that changes the project for us to be able to accomplish it all this spring, just because of the volume of water that's coming in there.
Is this just normal water flow from Durkee Brook that you're talking about?
Maybe we can, Glenn, if we can bring Wes into the fold, he's probably in a better position to answer that.
We were working well, keeping up to about the 10-foot level. Then it almost acted like we had a direct connection to either the brook or to the Winnisquam. The amount of water we were getting in, we just literally couldn't keep up with processing it.
So how do you put a plug in that? I mean, where is the end of it?
Well,
Doesn't sound like there is one.
what we're doing is redesigning it such that we don't have to go deep. That's why we're going to line the sewer instead of replacing it. We had to adjust as part of that to make the line is adjust the pile locations for the bridge itself. So that piece is going under. And then for the water main, instead of going under the bridge, we're actually going to put it beside the bridge and it won't be as deep. So we don't have to go into that area where the high concentration of water is, but we're still going to be facing water. Just won't be as bad.
Is the water pipe still going to be under the brook?
We're actually going to be running it so it's about the same level as the bridge. We're in the design process now on it. So it's going to be an above the brook bridge for the water main.
Okay.
It'll be underground to that point. It'll come up, it'll line along with the bridge, and then it'll go back underground, right, Wes?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's going to keep us from having to get down to that 10 feet or deeper level, which is where we're running into the problems with just voluminous amounts of water that, you know, really make the project extremely challenging. Thank you, Wes.
Any further questions? No? All right. Thanks very much, Scott. Appreciate it. Now moving on to item number 21, which is our new business. This is the first reading of resolution RES 2021-03 relative to authorizing the city manager to accept and expend a grant on behalf of the city in the amount of $23,059 for the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Exotic Species Program Project, and request to schedule a public hearing on February 22nd, 2021 during the regular city council meeting. All of you have a copy of the grant agreement, which is attached here. This would be, Scott, would you want to give us just a little bit of background on that, just a couple of sentences so we understand, and we can go through the motions if that's okay?
Sure. So this is working with the invasive species program with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. They help us with surveying all the various water bodies around the state. So in our case, it's Winnisquam, Opeechee, Paugus Bay, maybe areas of Winnipesaukee. Come up with identifying an approach for treating milfoil in the priority areas for the coming season. We've got 2 areas targeted. One would be done with a chemical treatment, which we've been very successful with, and further away from the water intake. The second one would be diver harvested or diver assisted suction harvesting that we do in the areas closer to the water intake. Depending on the number of projects, DES supports projects typically right now somewhere in the 25 to 30%, maybe 35% in certain years of funding of the overall project. So this would be what we would qualify through DES. We fund dollars in the budget towards our milfoil as well. And in some cases, there's some fundraising efforts going on by some local business leaders. And the folks over in Opeechee have an association that in some years when there's milfoil treatment in Opeechee that they contribute some funds towards a project to maintain Opeechee. So this is an annual event, and this will get us the approval to get our share of the milfoil pie, if you will.
Thanks very much. Any questions from councilors on for the city manager at this point before we move into motions? Okay, seeing none, I'll be looking for a motion to waive the reading of this resolution in its entirety and to read by title only. Councilor Cheney makes the motion, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilor Cheney,
Yes.
Councilor Susie,
Yes.
Councilor Littman,
Yes.
Councilor Haynes,
Yes.
Councilor Hamel,
Yes.
Councilor Felch.
Yes.
That's 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. The second motion is to move a first reading of the resolution RES 2021-03 relative to authorizing the city manager to accept and expend a grant on behalf of the city in the amount of $23,059 for the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Exotic Species Program Project. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Felch. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
Yes.
Counselor Littman,
Yes.
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
Counselor Felch.
Yes.
That's 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. And third and final motion, looking to move to schedule a public hearing on February 22nd, 2021, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input prior to adoption. That motion is made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Cheney. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
Yes.
Counselor Littman,
Yes.
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
Counselor Felch.
Yes.
At 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Thank you very much, councilors. Moving on to 21B right now. This has to do with authorizing the city manager to sign the termination agreement between the Dive LLC and the city of Laconia. After the 2020 season, the city of Laconia and the Dive LLC have discussed the long-term viability of the lease agreement into which they entered in June of 2020. After several good faith discussions, the parties have mutually decided that the agreement did not achieve the intentions or best serve the interests of either party. The parties have therefore agreed to terminate that agreement. The city of Laconia wishes the Dive LLC the best of luck in its future operations. This report was submitted by Scott Myers, the city manager. So at this point, I'd be looking for a motion to move to authorize the city manager to sign the termination agreement with the Dive LLC on behalf of the cities. Made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Hamel. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
Yes.
Counselor Littman,
Yes.
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
Counselor Felch.
Yes.
At 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Moving on to unfinished business under 22A. It's the second reading and approval of Resolution 2021-02 relative to authorizing the city manager to accept donated funds on behalf of the city. It is requested that the council vote to accept as a gift the existing funds from the terminating association and dedicate the funds to the special revenue fund set up to be solely used by the Weirs Community Park House Committee. The funds will be used to maintain and operate the Weirs Community Center, the Park House, as well as any capital improvements to the Weirs Community Park. The committee will seek special authority from the City Council to expend funds from the Special Revenue Fund for any charitable endeavors. The amount gifted to the city for the Special Revenue Fund will be an amount not to exceed $48,000. This report was submitted by Amy Lovisek, Director of Recreation and Facilities. And the Parks and Recreation Department recommends the council accept the gifted money to be placed into a special revenue account for the Weirs Community Park House Committee. Before we jump into motions here, are there any questions of the city manager as we take these next steps? Okay. Seeing none, there'll be a series of 3 motions here. First motion is to move to waive a reading of the resolution 2021-02 in its entirety and to read by title only. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
Yes.
Counselor Littman,
Yes.
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
Counselor Felch.
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. The next motion, we'll be looking to move a second reading of Resolution 2021-02 relative to authorizing the city manager to accept donated funds on behalf of the city. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
yes,
Counselor Littman,
yes,
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
Counselor Felch.
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. And finally, we're looking for a motion to move to approve Resolution 2021-02 relative to authorizing the city manager to accept donated funds on behalf of the city. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Felch. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
yes,
Counselor Littman,
yes,
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
Counselor Felch.
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Thank you very much, counselors. Moving along to the next item, at this point, we will be going into a non-public meeting under the non-public session guidelines according to RSA 91-A:3, Roman 2, which is parentheses small d, consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property, which, if discussed in public, would likely benefit a party or parties whose interests are adverse to those of the general community. When we return from this non-public session, we will not be conducting any other council business. We will just be adjourning the city council meeting. So, refresh my recollection, Scott, do we have to have a vote to go into non-public?
Yes, a roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote, please, city.
I need a motion and then a second.
Oh, technicalities. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
yes.
Counselor Littman,
yes.
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
Counselor Felch.
Yes.
That's 6 votes in the affirmative. We will be moving into non-public session right now, and the links have been provided to the city councilors. Thank you.
You are quick tonight, Counselor Cheney. See what happens when you get a good Wi-Fi signal?
Yep, lightning.
We have a quorum.
Lightning quick again, Counselor Cheney. Look at that. Bang. Shazam. One.
Don't get used to it.
So a quorum, 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe that we do. Scott, lead me through this.
6 months.
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah, the minutes from the non-public session be sealed for 6 months.
Sure.
Need a motion and a second vote.
I'll make that motion.
Seconded by, first by Counselor Littman, seconded by Counselor Cheney. All those in favor, roll call vote on that.
Counselor Cheney,
Yes.
Counselor Susie,
Yes.
Counselor Littman,
Yes.
Counselor Haynes,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel. Will reflect in the minutes, Glenn, that Counselor Hamel is not here. Counselor Felch.
Yes.
Okay, so you got a 5-0.
5 votes in the affirmative, minutes sealed for 6 months.
Scott, it's just, Councilor
then-
Hammond is present and he's entering the meeting now for the minute.
Well, how about do you want to go back and do the vote over, and or should we just keep it at 5-0?
You don't have to.
I'm here. I vote yes.
Counselor Hamel, yes. Okay, so 6.
I'd like to declare the adjourn city council meeting of February 8th, 2021 at 10:10 p.m.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Night.